want to mute yourself, that would be great. However, I am going to ask you, don't do it just yet. I'm going to ask you to do that in just a moment, because first of all, I want you to participate in our thinking and leading us into our prayers. So if I said to you, how does Christmas, the thought of celebrating Christmas this year, how does it make you feel? Okay, in 1 or 2 words, not even a sentence, 1 or 2 words, would you like to tell me the thought and what it makes you feel this year? And you can say it more than once, because I'm also aware that our emotions are a bit up and down. Some days we're more optimistic and happier than others, so you can answer more than once. So
challenged.
Yep.
Possibilities.
Interesting.
Unsettling.
Confused.
I missed somebody. Can you speak up?
I think that was.
New.
Yeah.
A chance to rethink.
Rethink.
Doubtful.
Doubtful.
An opportunity, but complicated.
I was going to say complicated and uncertain.
New opportunities.
But it's
Still merry.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Colin.
I said still merry.
Still merry.
Still
merry. Yeah.
I was going to say it's still a light in the darkness to look forward to.
Exactly. Thank you.
Can I just go against that? Sorry, Colin.
You're all right.
I'm feeling quite sad about all the family stuff that's already been cancelled.
Yeah. I'll follow that by saying I feel quite flat about it.
Yeah. It's
Flat.
a difficult balance, isn't it? It really is a difficult balance.
Yeah.
We're facing.
Any other single words?
Excited to see what God can do.
Excited, yeah. Okay. Colin, you're absolutely right. It is a difficult balance. And I just want to acknowledge that right at the beginning of this session of thinking about how we celebrate Christmas and how we share the story of the birth of Christ and how we approach Advent, that if the people who are here, the 20 of us, have a whole host of emotions and reactions, then how much more is that going to be amplified with the people that we seek to help and to lead and to inspire as we think about Christmas? So in our prayers, let's just acknowledge that before God, that it's not like last year, and yet it's exactly like last year. Okay, it's that balance of some things are exactly the same. We still celebrate the birth of Jesus. We still rejoice that God came to earth, but we might have to really rethink how we do that and how we share that and how we cope with our own emotions and responses to it. So let's pray together, and be helpful if you muted yourself now. Thank you. Loving God, as we look back over previous celebrations of Christmas and previous times when we've journeyed through Advent, we remember with joy the way that we have celebrated the birth of Jesus and all those different opportunities and all those different chances that we've had to sing of your glory, to share with our friends and with our family, to share with your church, to share with our neighbours and in our streets. And we thank you that in every Christmas that we've ever celebrated, you have been a faithful God and you have been worthy of all of our worship and love and adoration. And in the midst of great change and unrest and many doubts and fears, we thank you that you are the same fresh, that you would remind us of your light that shines, that the darkness can never put it out. And would you inspire us with ideas and thoughts and new opportunities so that we might continue to work with you and for you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Wonderful. Thank you. So very quickly, let's find out where folk are from. If you need to unmute, don't forget to do that. So Tracy, were you saying there was a lot from Southwest Tyneside here?
There are. It's a very
Right,
good
give us a
turnout.
wave if you're from Southwest Tyneside. Oh, that's nearly half of you.
And April as well.
Southwest Tyneside.
Sorry, Tracy?
I say it's Joy Chambers as well. She's Southwest Tyneside. She's not waving. She looks like she's frozen.
I think Joy's frozen, that's why she's not waving.
Yeah,
April as well. But April's
April, yes, April's gone out the room, so April is as well.
Lovely. Okay, we've got some folk from, well, at least one from Sunderland. Richard, give folk a wave. Well, working in Sunderland, but living in... Can't hear you, Richard.
Yes, lurking, you're quite right, yeah. I'm 1 foot in Chesley Street and 1 in Sunderland.
Yeah, talking of Chesley Street, we've got Ian from Chesley Street. Give us a wave, Ian. Is there anyone else from Chesley Street circuit? No. I can see a few from Newcastle Central and East. There's Gail and Mark.
Yeah.
And Jean.
Yeah.
Lovely. And Peter, of course, yes. David, I forget which circuit you are from.
We're Hexham, Wylam on the edge of Hexham.
Lovely.
You know, well, we're not on the edge of Hexham, but you know what I mean. We're in Hexham circuit. So
You're up there somewhere, aren't you?
down the river. Down the
river.
Yeah.
Newcastle West.
No, we're not
Yeah.
Newcastle
No, we got
West.
Newcastle.
No, we're Newcastle West. Yeah,
Colony.
Sarah Dodds
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, yes, welcome, Sarah. Alf from East Durham. Anyone else from East Durham? And wherever not mentioned yet, apart from the interloper, we'll come to him in a minute. Does anyone I've missed welcoming? No, just you then, James. James, tell us where you're from.
So I am originally from the Lindisfarne circuit, but I'm now a lay worker in the Leicester Trinity circuit in the Northampton district.
Yeah.
So I have come a long way.
You have. You like to come back to Lindisfarne, don't you? So anyway, you are all very, very welcome. Just as we've shared our thoughts, as we think, our responses, our feelings, as we think about Christmas, in many ways, it seems very, very early to be thinking about what the Christmas campaign, but really it's that time of year again when you kind of blink and before you know it, we need to be making sure that we're ready, not in the way that the adverts are already telling us to be ready, but in a way that's going to make some difference and share the message of Christmas in a way, hopefully, that makes sense to people who perhaps this year more than any year need to see and know a little bit of that light in the darkness. So I'm going to hand over to Holly. Holly, would you like to introduce yourself, because we didn't do that there, and just tell us a bit about the Christmas campaign, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name's Holly Adams. I am the Evangelism and Contemporary Culture Officer for the Methodist Church on the Connectional team, and I've been planning this Christmas campaign since August, so I'm a bit Christmased out already in a way, but seeing all of you in your jolly Christmas jumpers and Christmassy backgrounds has got me back in the mood for Christmas, so I'm happy to be wearing my Christmassy jumper today. Holly in Holly. I'll just go through a little bit about the campaign and share a bit with you about kind of what it's for, what it's about, and the resources that will be available. And I think it's just important to say as well that this is kind of meant to be an offering from the National Connectional team for people to use in whatever way is helpful. And we know that it isn't going to do everything that everyone wants it to do, but that we hope that people will be able to dip in and out of it and use it in whatever way is useful. So I just want to kind of say a bit about what the campaign aims to do. The campaign's name is God is with us, which obviously ties in with the presidential theme. And that is also the hashtag for the campaign. So hashtag God is with us. And I think it's really brilliant that that exercise that Elaine just led us in, thinking about how we all feel about Christmas, because I think it's obviously fair to say that we're all a bit uncertain. We don't really know what Christmas is going to look like this year, and we definitely don't know what church is going to look like. And I'm sure we're all feeling in some ways anxious about this. And in a way, that is why a message of hope is as critical as ever this year. The Christmas message of hope really has something that we can offer to people. It's an opportunity to reach people with a message of hope this year. And the Christmas message of Emmanuel, the good news that God is with us, perhaps feels more pertinent than ever in this extraordinary year. And the Christmas campaign seeks to do just this. It seeks to reach out to people outside of our churches, outside of our church communities at this uncertain time, and share the good news that God is with us. So the campaign is not about getting more people into church on Christmas Day, or about getting more people to watch our online services on Christmas Day. It's not about raising money. It's not about getting kind of people to do stuff. It's about simply sharing the Christmas message of hope that God is with us. And the Christmas, the presidential theme and the name of the campaign, as I'm sure you all know, comes from, of course, John Wesley's purported words on his deathbed: "The best of all is God is with us," which reminds us that even in the times which feel most uncertain, we can be certain of God. The campaign is a partnership across kind of a wide Methodist family. So I'll just run through some of the kind of organisations that have been involved in putting the campaign together. And they are the Connectional Team, JPIT, Methodist Schools, the Methodist Forces Board, MHA, All We Can, Action for Children, Methodist Ministers Housing Society, Methodist Women in Britain, and the Leaders of Worship and Preachers Trust. So we've got a really kind of collaborative approach, we hope, to the campaign, which I know many Methodist churches support these charities and organisations that I've mentioned. So I think it is really exciting to do something joined up like this and kind of present a shared Advent message that we've come together to share. So I'll go into a bit more detail about what the campaign is actually about. The content that we're sharing will mostly be digital. So there will be the hashtag God is with us, and there will be a website especially for the campaign, which is www.findingourhope.co.uk, and I'll post that in the chat. It's not live yet, so don't search for it yet, but it will be live by the time the resources kind of are out and about. I'm just going to post that in the chat to you now. Finding Our Hope. So don't share that yet, but hang on to it for future use. And I'll post the hashtag in the chat as well. And the hashtag has capitalized letters because it makes it readable on audio readers for RNIB standards. So most of the content will be digital. There'll be the website, and there will be social media posts every day during Advent. And the social media posts will share a photo of a person and a quote from that person, sharing something about how they've experienced God with them in this year that we've all lived through. That's been an extraordinary year. And the social media post will link to the website, which will contain a full text version of a kind of a reflection that person has written about their experience of God in this year. So that's the main digital content. There will also be a video that's shared on the 1st of December, and that video will be narrated by the 24 people that will be telling their stories throughout Advent. So every day in Advent, one person shared on social media plus a video. I'm just going to read to you the script of the video because I think it kind of captures what the campaign is all about. So this obviously isn't being shared widely. This is kind of a sneak peek of the script. So if you can just imagine some moving music behind what I'm saying, and imagine 24 different voices, each reading the lines of this script. So I'll read it out to you now. Even when we're isolated, when we're grieving, when we're struggling, when we've hit rock bottom, we're never alone. This year has been unbelievable, but we've pulled together. We've worked hard to care for people, to feed people, to house people, to heal people. And we've said loud and clear that people matter more, that injustice is unacceptable, that our community is vital. Our buildings have been closed, but we have been at work, and God's love is uncontainable. In times of despair and in times of hope, you are loved. This Christmas and always, whoever you are and whatever you've been through this year, God is with you, God is with me, God is with us. So we kind of hope that that is kind of captures something of the experience we've all had this year, and also the experience of the ways that the Methodist Church has stepped up to serve people in diverse ways through local churches, through Methodist organisations, and we hope that it speaks a message that people need to hear, you know, regardless of whether you're a Christian or not. I think that's a powerful message of hope. So I just wonder if I could share my screen. I don't know if I am able to do that. No. Elaine, am I allowed to, or Tracy? Brilliant, thank you.
I'm just giving you permission. You should be able to do that now.
Fab, thank you very much. Just wanted to give you a sense of what the campaign, can you see that? Yeah, that is the campaign graphic, and the kind of green and red obviously is a hint of Christmas, and the triangles are the campaign look and feel, so that runs all the way through the campaign. Those are the organisations which I've already mentioned that are collaborating on the campaign, and that's the hashtag and the website that I've already mentioned, and another little graphic. And all of these graphics and social media graphics and visual identity and all of that is downloadable already from the website, sorry, that I will post in the chat now, which is not the same as the campaign website, but is sort of a website that holds all of the stuff about the campaign. So I'll just share that with you in the chat. And that's also where you can download some of the print materials, which I'll now tell you about, because although it is mainly a digital campaign, we wanted to make sure that there were also ways to reach people who weren't online. And so we are producing a poster and postcards that you can order or that you can download and print at home. And the poster can go up in your windows in your homes or outside your churches. And if you want big posters to order for outside your churches, then you can do that through CPO, and that they're going live next week. So they'll be ready to order at the end of next week, we hope. The postcards are available to pre-order now, and they just say God is with us on the front, and on the back they've got some reflective questions about where have you experienced God in your year. So I'm aware that I'm just talking quite a lot, but I wonder if I pause now and ask if there's any questions.
Do you want to say whether there's a cost to those or not, Holly?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that. So the postcards and the posters are all free of charge to order, but you just have to pay post and packaging.
Holly, so far I've only seen this online. Is there going to be a mail shot to the district offices? Or has there been? I've just not seen it yet.
There isn't. All of the kind of sharing of the campaign is going out through the Methodist social media channels and through the Methodist newsletter that's shared on a Thursday. But that is a really, really good point, Elaine. I will write that down. Thank you.
I think you've mentioned as well on the launch the other day that this is going to be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Was there anything else? I can't remember. Was it on TikTok as well? I can't remember.
No, just Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and on YouTube.
But I've done it in such a way that you can retweet, you can share quite easily among your friends and family, so that you can get it out there as much, and obviously then become something that hopefully will be, what's that phrase they use when it's going viral or whatever?
Yeah. So
going viral.
Yeah, so that's the way that we hope that local churches will mainly engage, is by sharing social media posts, by sharing the video and by sharing the print materials. But if local churches feel like they want to get more creative and kind of create some of their own content, you know, share their own stories under the hashtag, then that would be brilliant as well. So some other kind of creative ideas are, you could kind of build testimony into your weekly online offering. You could ask people in your churches to share their stories of where they've experienced God with them this year and share those on social media. You could encourage church members to use the reflective questions to talk to other people about, or to talk about in their small groups. You could watch the video in your small groups or share the video on your online worship. So lots of kind of ways that you can use the video, use the social media, use posts, use these stories to kind of generate conversation around Christmas. I think just to say as well that the 24 people that are sharing their stories throughout Advent, they're all somehow related to the Methodist Church or have been served in some way by the Methodist Church this year. So whether or not they have been looked after by a Methodist food bank, you know, or whether they're living in a Methodist home run by MHA, or they're working abroad for the Methodist Church in somewhere like Bethlehem. We've got somebody who's representing kind of the global side of the Methodist Church's work as well. So it's really in a diverse way meant to represent all the different things that the Methodist family has been doing this year to serve their communities.
Fantastic. Tracy's putting some of the questions that are on the back of the postcard, she's putting them in the chat so you can have a look at the kind of thing that's going to be there. In the meantime, does anyone else have any questions or comments for Holly and the God is With Us campaign? Is that the web link you've just put in as well, Holly, is it?
Yeah, that's the web link to kind of the landing page with all the resources on it. Yeah.
Paul's got a question.
Sorry, I know you mentioned it was all like Methodist behind it. Has there been any talks ecumenically with Church of England, or are they running a different campaign? I'm just wondering if this is something we can open out more as an ecumenical thing to do together, or is this solely they're doing their own thing and we're doing this, or
well, the Church of England, thank you April, the Church of England are doing a campaign called Comfort and Joy, which is mostly based on the 12 days of Christmas, between Christmas and whenever it is the end of Christmas, and so we felt like we wanted to do something slightly different, because we wanted to celebrate the ways that Methodist communities have kind of stepped up this year, really, through all the challenges, and continue to serve people who have experienced great difficulty and have diverse needs this year. So we wanted to kind of celebrate that in a distinctively Methodist way. That doesn't mean that God is With Us isn't something that you can kind of do in an ecumenical way locally, and we do have various kind of ecumenical stories being told as part of the campaign. So Leaders of Worship and Preachers Trust, for example, are an ecumenical organisation. JPIT are an ecumenical ecumenical organisation. So it isn't kind of as internal as it feels, but it is about celebrating us as a family, as well as trying to reach beyond it.
Yeah. Holly, do you want to say something about the CD and the Worship at Home materials as well?
Yes, so sorry, I forgot about those. So they are more kind of internal resourcing. So the posters, postcards and digital content for the campaign really are aiming to be shared by Methodists to reach as far and wide as we possibly can. There are also some resources that are being produced, such as Worship at Home resources and a CD, that are much more about our own Methodist communities and our congregations, and helping them if our churches are shut at Christmas, which seems likely at this stage. If they're shut, then there are 5 worship at home sheets, one for each Sunday in Advent and one for Christmas Day, that will be downloadable and shareable for people to worship at home. The CD will contain hymns and a presidential address, and I know we've had lots of feedback that says, why are you doing a CD? We're beyond the CD, you know, that's so outdated. But we are aware, I think, that there are many in our congregations, many Methodists who for whom a CD is the best way, and we really don't want to leave them out by just talking about Instagram and Twitter and Facebook all the time. So that's why we're producing a CD.
Ian?
Holly, can I just ask a question about the worship at home material? Because that stuff's really helpful, but do you know when it's going to be available? Because at the moment, the stuff on the Methodist website comes out about a week in advance. We send our worship at home material out a month in advance. So I'm already sending out everything from now to the 1st of December is going out this week. So coming out like the Methodist churches at the moment, a week or 2 in advance is absolutely no help whatsoever.
Yeah, I know.
It's great if we could have the Christmas stuff, you know, like before the end of November, because it would be lovely to be able to use that. It would save a lot of work.
Yeah, I absolutely. We've passed all of this on to the team that are putting together the worship at home resources, and I think they are working to the deadline of ASAP. And I just hope I hope that it gets out in time for people who need to share it. But I'll pass it on, Ian. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Peter?
Just one question on branding, because we're a URC Methodist church, and when it came to the way of life, we adapted it to be Trinity way of life rather than Methodist, and Roger Walton was very happy with that, so I didn't go any further than that. Is there an issue if we sort of use the branding but sort of adapt it slightly or not?
There is not an issue with that at all. We would love people to take this and do whatever they want with it to make it work in their contexts. You know, the last thing we want to do is be precious about stuff. So go for it would be my advice. And most of the graphics are downloadable already on the webpage I just shared. And if there's anything that you need that isn't available, just email me. I'll put my email address in the chat, and I'll always see what I can do to kind of send stuff through to you.
Thank you.
Richard?
Can I just say to Holly, thank you very much for doing this. I think at the beginning of lockdown, you know, we kind of thought there was a paucity of online resources as far as Methodism was concerned, and the fact that you've put so much time and energy into this, it's all pushing in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think one of the things I like about it, Holly, is that as well as the worship at home resources and the reflections for people to think about their response, I like that it's evangelistic as well, and that it's something that's going to be easily shareable. And most of our conversations with people are happening online, so it makes absolute sense that we're doing that. One of the things that whilst I might be a little bit of a miserable so-and-so when I think about whether I'm going to be able to share Christmas dinner with my family, the thing that makes me really happy is to see the amount of conversations that we should have been having last year and the year before and the year before that about how we share the message of Christmas beyond our church carol services and beyond our church nativity services and the like. And I think there's been a whole heap of creative thinking already going on. Before we move on to that, does anyone else have any other questions for Holly? If you do think of anything, we'll have more time for questions at the end, so just jot it down.
Just to say as well, sorry.
Just a small comment which kind of came to me as you were talking. The hashtag you've used is a good one for me, because wherever we get to in the next year, we can build on that hashtag through Lent, through Easter, and because it's one we can continue with and roll with and keep putting things out, rather than it being just about Christmas. We can roll this on, and that excites me because, you know, I'm not a pessimist, but I think this will be rolling on into the new year, especially for a lot of our members, a lot of our adherents who are a certain age bracket. The opportunities for them to be in worship, I think, will take a lot longer to happen. And, you know, rather than this being just pushed out for Advent and Christmas, I think we can build on this using the same hashtag, and take this message of hope on through 2021. It's a great opportunity to build on. And so I want to commend you for that, because you've not necessarily put Christmas all over this. It's an hashtag that I believe we can really roll with in 2021. I know this talk of the possibility of there being a vaccination, but they are very, very secretive about who that's going to be for at the minute, and just how many of the population it's going to go to. So thank you for this positive hashtag that I hope we can build on through 2021 as well, and
Thanks,
roll
Colin.
with it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, Colin, because one thing we are quite aware of is that the campaign generally doesn't scream Christmas. You know, the materials and the stories that we're sharing, they're not really about Christmas. They're about this year that we've all experienced, and the fact that God is with us. And of course, that is a Christmas message, but and we do think it's an important message to share at Christmas, but it has a longer life, and is about a bit more than just this season, and so I think it is something that can be continued to be used if you want to.
Thank you. Okay, Holly's going to stay with us, so if you do have any other questions, just bring them at the end. Thank you so much for giving your time, and I know you did a bigger webinar last week about this, but we wanted to have some local stories as well, which is why we invited you to the district. And because of the beauty of Zoom, it doesn't cost us any travelling expenses to invite all these folk to come to the district to share their thoughts with us. So thank you for giving your time.
Thank you.
One of the other exciting prospects that has reared up in the last week or so, I'm going to hand over to Tracy and Peter maybe to share a little bit about that. But over to you first, Tracy.
Thank you. So it's funny, Peter and I both came aware of something in the same few days. Peter, I think, like lots of ministers, trying to think how we're going to do Christmas, how we're going to do carol services, when we don't know what tier we're going to be in, what the restrictions are going to be, do we do things outside, do we do things inside? And we both sort of saw the same thing and managed to get in touch with each other about it. And it's actually, we're trying at the moment to try and get probably Radio Newcastle on board, but if they don't play ball, I'm working on another one. The idea is, it's come from Radio Shropshire, and Radio Shropshire have started something called www.doorstepcarols.co.uk, and you can have a look at their website. And they're encouraging other local radio stations to do the same thing, hence why I'm going with BBC Newcastle, because it covers the northeast. And the idea is that on the 16th of December at 6 p.m, for half an hour, the radio station will play carols for people to stand on their doorstep and sing along to. So everybody will be singing literally to the same hymn sheet. The hymn sheet, the carol sheet will be produced, but will be downloadable from the radio station that we work with and from our Methodist places as well, and ecumenical colleagues. The idea is that people would print off the carol sheet for the carols that will be sung, that people will be encouraged to go and post them through the doors of their neighbours on their street. So we're back to that local evangelism rather than let's bring everybody to church, let's invite our neighbours, a bit like Clap for Carers, let's stand on our doorsteps. With an invitation, so you put the carol sheet through the door with an invitation, say, why not join me on the doorstep on this day at this time, let's sing and celebrate Christmas together. So it's a bring the community together. And because it would be with potentially Radio Newcastle, the idea is that the whole of the North East, doesn't matter where we are, doesn't matter what tier we are in, we can all stand on our doorsteps and make a joyful noise. And people can bring bells, they can dress in their Christmas jumpers, whatever they want to. But exactly, so we can have some kind of community spirit that doesn't worry about whether we can be in a church or not, and is something that brings everybody together. And it's very useful as well for people who are housebound. So, you know, if they can't come to their doorstep, they can open the curtains, they can sit in their window with their carol sheet and their radio on, and still be joining in with their neighbours. And the thing is, it doesn't require internet. So it's one of those things that's a level, and just about everybody has access to a radio somewhere. So I'm hoping that's what's going to come off. And if that comes off, then that's something, it kind of takes some of the pressure off churches having to worry about doing a carol service if we're kind of doing them on our own street. And I know from Lumley, there's been this wonderful thing of church on the street that has come out of lockdown, people worshipping on a Sunday morning on the street every week. And this kind of builds on that really. And they've probably got their own plans for this, but it would be the 16th of December might sound a strange day, but I would rather do something that potentially is going around the country that everybody does at the same day or at the same time, and we have this sense of everybody coming together, and hopefully it would get media coverage as well.
What day of the week is that, Tracy?
I think it's a Wednesday, but I might be wrong.
Wednesday.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm working towards at the moment. As I said, if I have had conversation with Radio Newcastle, I'm waiting for the big bosses to have a conversation with me about it. If they say no, I will go with a commercial radio station, because I want this to happen. I think this is a wonderful chance for our communities to show some community spirit, come together, and it's very inclusive. So I will keep you posted. As soon as I have news, we'll put it on the Facebook page or whatever and keep you up to date. And then hopefully you'd hear it on the radio as well and get all the information there. And they have used it as a chance to raise money, that they're making it a voluntary thing, but they're choosing 4 charities, local charities that have struggled to get money because of lockdown. And so saying that people could voluntarily choose to make a donation at that time as well. But that's up to us what we want to do. So that, I think, is quite exciting, and something everybody could get involved with. And it's something anybody in your church can do, isn't it? Anybody can sing a carol stood on your doorstep. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Tracy. Peter, do you want to add anything at this stage?
No, I think Tracy's presented it very well. Thank you very much. That'll do. I just love the idea of something that actually has no denominational boundaries, has no sort of boundaries of internet and ability like that. It's not, my original idea was sort of carols in the car park by Carlight, you know, but that has certain limitations. So I think it's just fantastic. So and I just hope if we can get the wherewithal, then we can start pushing it around with our contacts and just perhaps sing carols with one voice. Wouldn't that be an achievement, as well as getting in the neighbours and everything? So thanks, Tracy. Thanks, everybody.
The Radio Shropshire are trying to get lots of radio stations to do this, so hopefully this wouldn't just be us and Radio Shropshire. Ian.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it sounds a fabulous idea. I mean, Tracy mentioned Church on the Street at Lumley, and Church on the Street essentially came out of this we did this at Easter. There was a challenge to sing a carol on your doorstep on Easter Sunday morning. I think they came from the Church of England. We did that on Good Friday and Sunday, and now we're doing it every Sunday. We've done it every Sunday since on the street, and we get 40 odd people gathering on the street every week to sing hymns. It started off with two hymns. That's all they did. They came out, they sang 2 hymns on the doorstep. We've gradually brought in a short talk and prayers for people in the community. And Tracy's right, we're already plotting in Lumley that actually across the circuit that we were going to do something like this in Advent. We're probably going to do something every Sunday, I think, because what we found is if we can do it, and we think Advent is a time when people will be happy to come out and sing carols. If we get the momentum of people coming out 4 weeks in a row, actually it might just carry on in the way that Lumley's has done, and this will be a great kind of thing to include in that. So I just want to encourage you all, because I say we did it just to be that one Sunday. We've now essentially got a church out of it. So beyond all expectation, really, it's such a simple thing.
Yeah.
And how many of us saw that thing from the Church of England and thought, well, I'm not standing on my doorstep singing an Easter hymn and making a fool of myself. And look what happened to those who were courageous enough to do it.
Any questions or comments about that for Tracy?
I think it's a wonderful idea. And I think people can take it and run with it as well. Like what was going through my head was in my little street where I live in a cul-de-sac, I could put through all the doors and maybe say have a mince pie with an invitation, you know, and come out and join us and bring a candle, hold a lantern or whatever, so it feels like you're carol singing together.
Yeah.
Tracy, can I ask the same question I asked of Holly, which is, do you know when you're likely to have kind of the materials available or know that it's going to happen? Just because.
Well, I spoke to Radio Newcastle on Friday, my first contact. They're supposed to be taking it to the programming editor, yesterday or today. So I'm waiting. Literally, I've said I need to hear from them this week because I need to act on it ASAP. So I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks we'll be able to get that confirmation it's happening, then get the links out. And I mean, I've suggested to the radio station as well that why not do what's the Northeast favourite carol kind of poll at the beginning of December, and let's use the carols that people vote for, and you know, so that we actually engage people in it as well. So the sooner we can get that out, the better. So I'm pushing it, and I've given them a limit of this week, and if they don't get back to me, they will lose out, and I will go with somewhere who does want it.
Right, brilliant, thank you.
Jean, you were trying to.
I was just following on from, is it April who said about doing the mince pie with the invitation? We're going to put, because I'm part of a local ecumenical partnership, we've just decided we're going to put up activity packs for all the children in our immediate local school, and I just thought we could include in that pack, you know, you can get little silver bells, then you could say, well, make sure you're ringing your bells when you're standing on your doorstep singing the carols. So there's lots of other little things you could do to make the invitation.
Love that.
I like the idea of the bells actually, because some of us made an awful racket with pans and wooden spoons back in lockdown, so the bells might be nicer. Any other questions or comments about that, or suggestions even? Great. Well, if you think of any, Tracy's not going anywhere either. So one of the things I wanted to bring to you was, do you remember back in lockdown how many of us put pictures of rainbows up in our windows? Well, I got a little bit carried away in that I painted I've got big windows at the front of the house, and I painted a rainbow, and then the bug caught me. I wouldn't class myself as a painter or an artist or anything, but I quite enjoyed getting the poster paints. Well, they were acrylics. And then I hoped they would actually come off, because I didn't do a test first, but acrylic does come off glass. And then I did something for Easter. I did an Easter window, stained glass window, and then I did something for Pentecost. I did something I did some spring flowers, and basically I covered all of my windows at the front. So I've got 4 big long windows. I'm going to do a scene through each of Advent. I'm going to paint them so that there's something that people can stop and look at as they walk by. I was quite amazed, as I guess many of us were, when we put things in our windows, how many people did stop and look. And there were some children used to come and have a look, and actually they put requests in for the next thing. One wanted a unicorn and one wanted a dinosaur. I was really sorry and said, will a flower do? Because I don't think I can paint either a unicorn or a dinosaur. But after being up for a while and someone would keep passing, one gentleman stopped at the stained glass cross window, and he looked at it and he stood still for a while, and then he crossed himself. And I thought, you know, there's something about these shrines and places to remember that are literally on our doorsteps, our places of worship being on our doorsteps as well now, and so open and accessible to others. So I'm going to do that. But one of the things that I was wondering about was whether to create almost like a template for people to print out and put in their windows, whether that would be something that was helpful or not. But having heard a bit more from Holly, I'm kind of feeling like I want to go and have a good look at these posters and see whether actually that would just be more suitable to put the posters in our windows.
For anybody else who wants to draw on their windows, it is easy to get window pens, window chalk pens just from Amazon. And they can get them in different colours. I've decided I think I'm going to do similar to Elaine. I think I'm going to do silhouettes because I found pictures on the internet. I put in Advent and Christmas silhouettes so that I had something to copy, but also you could print them off, cut them out and just stick the silhouette in the window as well, because I'm not sure how good I'm going to be at drawing kings, a donkey and all sorts, but
one of the other things we're going to put in this activity pack is for them to make a star for them to hang in their windows.
Right.
And we're going to then encourage all our congregation to do the same and have a little competition to see how many stars can you see when you're walking around.
Wonderful. And I know this seems to work better in villages, but I know some are doing Advent trails around their village, which I think is a fantastic idea. It gets people out walking and going, following the story as they walk around the village. April, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I had that idea of an Advent trail around Greenside where there's quite a few wooden lampposts around Greenside that I use to stick posters up. So I thought of a particular place to start the walk from. People would follow the nativity story around the village on a walk. Also in Greenside this year, it was a community thing. They decided to do scarecrows in the summer, so people out walking could see the scarecrows. And they've done something similar for Halloween, because obviously the kids kind of go trick-or-treating, so they're encouraging people to decorate their windows for Halloween. But out of that, they are going to do something for Christmas as well, where they're encouraging people to decorate their windows for Christmas. And this is something maybe we can encourage more of that. And maybe, like that lady said, the star idea, it could maybe help and sort of help our congregations and people that we're connected with to encourage them to do that as well.
Yeah. David?
Yeah, we're doing sort of nativity scenes. It's a bit the scarecrow thing, but in different houses. But the nativity scenes can be either big in a garden, like we've done with scarecrows and things, or there could just be a small thing in the porch, in the window. You know, there's sort of so much variety, but we hope to get as many people as we can involved in that.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
I've heard of people doing a community posada as well, where and I've seen it before and something we've tried before, but to actually have Mary and Joseph appearing in a different shop window if you've got a high street each day of Advent, so that when they get up to Christmas, so the children have to find out which shop Mary and Joseph in each day and keep a log, you know, write it on a piece of paper so you can have a form filled in, or just simply for them to try and spot where are Mary and Joseph today on their journey to Bethlehem. And it's something that works well in care homes as well. You have a Mary and Joseph, and you, especially if you can't get into your care home at the moment, it might be something to help them engage with the story, that each resident takes it in turns, and you would just have to start however many bedrooms there are back from Christmas. If they've got 30 bedrooms, you have to start 30. If you have 40 odd, we'll start, you know, in November. But Mary and Joseph would go around the care home. And I think at the moment when we can't get in there, it's something just to help engage that community who could be quite forgotten.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so any
my
other...
grandchildren.
Hang on, give
Sorry.
me a wait, whoever's speaking. All right, there you are, Liz. Liz, off you go.
My grandchildren last year from school had a travelling crib during Advent, and they brought that home one night during Advent, and it had a little prayer and a candle, and they could keep the candle and the prayer, but obviously the crib had to go back the next day. And that went round, which I thought was a lovely idea, and I happened to be there looking after them that night. Their mummy was away, so it was quite special actually doing that with the children, you know. So I don't know whether it would be possible to do that. Obviously not in the schools because we aren't in the school, but possibly even with our young people that aren't managing to get to church at the moment, if we could do something like that and they could pass it round, you know. But it was quite nice. It was just a little prayer and a little nativity scene. It was rather nice. So that's a thought.
It's quite difficult in the present circumstances passing things round. We can't do that. We've had a Posada, and I don't think we can do it this year at all, because you can't go from house to house.
I think it depends on, actually you could, if you had the right number of each set, you just tell them what day they need to put it in the window. So even though we wouldn't be passing it on, that you could skid them out and say, on this day, this is when you put them in the window. That way it would get round the worrying about passing things on, if that's the concern. But yes, you're absolutely right. We have to bear these things in mind at the moment.
And you know, I meant to look this up before today's meeting, and it completely slipped out of my mind. But those of you who've done Xmas Angels in the past, the knitted angels, I know they've put some advice out on how to do that this year. I think that's Rob and David have written a little, I presume it's come from Rob and David, a little note about maybe being a little bit more strategic and careful about where you're putting angels. So just bear that in mind if you were thinking of doing anything like that this year. We just need to be careful with what we're passing around to people.
Elaine, do you know where that advice is?
I'm just going to look it up.
Yeah, could you, Tracy? I've read it somewhere, but I can't remember. I meant to go and find it before today and it slipped my mind. Gail, were you trying to get in there?
Yeah, I was just going to say that if your churches have got a big footfall going past them, because that's how in Wallsend we've got a lot of people go past our church. And Mark, who's on, made some absolutely amazing 3 huge prayer boards, which are being looked at an awful lot, and we're going to change one of those. But then I'm looking at Mark because he's our creative, graphic, as well as Anne, they both are. So going to do a nativity that's lit up, something that folk will see. And then we're just thinking the outside of the church needs to have a message of hope in a big way, because you can't invite people in as you would normally do because of the restrictions. But what you can do is use your building to really say something. So Mark's described it, he'll tell you, like a phoenix window.
Yeah, well, I decided when we were talking about this that we have to be very visual on the outside of the building, because obviously we're only allowed, because our church is open at the moment, but we can only get 25 people in. And if we were to have something in the church, it might attract too many people inside the building, so it has to be outside. So my idea was to do, and if anyone's been to Newcastle, Phoenix Windowed Christmas has a display in the window of a story. It could be the one year it was the Christmas story, but normally it's like a fairy tale or something like that. And it's a famous thing in Newcastle. So I thought in Wallsend we need to have some form of Phoenix window. So for us, it needs to be lit up. We're going to do a nativity, and my brother is a photographer, and he's really good at doing these sort of things. He's done some photographs in fields and things before, where he's cut out huge cows and put them in the field and next to the bales and took photographs and looked really good. So that's where I got the idea from. So we're going to do a nativity in the same format at the side of the church with sort of, you know, pigs cut out and different things. And one of the stewards, Alan, he's really good with electric, so it's going to be lit up. So I don't know how it probably sounds, I don't know if it's going to look as good as it sounds, but hopefully it'll look good, because obviously it's going to be dark most of the time over Christmas, so it has to be lit up. So we're going to try to make a big visual effect, because one thing I've noticed, or we've noticed with these prayer boards, is because we're right on the corner in Wallsend, just off the high street, people stop and they have been reading the prayers, and this is young people, not just sort of older people, people walking dogs, people just doing their shopping, kids stop and look at them, and it's been really positive. So I just think it's a really good spot to have this visual effect.
Thank
this
you.
type of church.
I think you, for those of you who don't know yet, I'm going to be on sabbatical November and December. But usually when I'm working, I like to take pictures of things like this and stick them up on the Mission Forum Facebook group for the district, because that's a place for us to share good mission ideas. So whilst I'm on sabbatical, make sure you you post your good ideas, just to encourage people. Or if you're doing something particular like that and you want, you know, folk around the district to be praying for you, then put it up on the Mission Forum. It's purely for mission ideas and mission resources, so of which all of this would be great. I don't want us to make this a long Zoom because we all spend a long time in front of screens at the minute. But if anyone else has got any good ideas, then great. But if not, Holly has done as Zoom like this for another group, and she could pinch some of their best ideas and share them with us as well. But first of all, anyone else want to share anything before I hand back to Holly? Okay, Holly.
Thanks. I feel like I'm a bit of a sponge at the moment for great Christmas ideas. And actually some of the ones that you've just been sharing are some of the ones that are already on my list. So there's some golden threads running through kind of everyone's ideas across the country, which is great. I'll just run through a couple. As Elaine said, these are all shamelessly plagiarised. I've not come up with any of these myself, but some good ideas that I've heard in other webinars. Some people are doing a Celtic Christmas this year, which is a much longer period. Some of you might know that a Celtic Christmas starts on the 16th of November and runs to the 2nd of February. And they're using that period to kind of share stuff online and to kind of extend the message of Christmas. And they kind of feel like that's holding people through a long winter, you know, long uncertain winter, and just keeping the messaging going for an extended period. A lot of the conversations I've heard today and in other webinars have been about how we decorate our homes and how we use our homes to tell the story of Christmas and share a message of hope. And I guess a bit like Easter, we're probably quite likely to be using our homes much more than other places to share those messages. So a few different places are talking about doing something joined up in an ecumenical way with kind of churches together in their towns, or with various churches in their villages or wherever they are, to get people to share the same thing in their window. So we've talked a bit about stars, we've talked a bit about posters, we've talked a bit about paint, but to try and do something in a joined up way. I've heard quite a lot of good ideas about letter writing, which is obviously something that we can still do regardless of COVID. We can all put a letter in the post, and how easy that is to get children and young people involved as well in writing letters. Could be to people in care homes, could be to people in the community, sharing the good news of the Christmas story. And generally things about translating existing ideas into a COVID secure way, or into a digital platform. So things like doing nativities, getting maybe everyone in the village or in various people in the town to record themselves performing a bit of the nativity and then editing it together into like a village telling of the nativity story and sharing that online. And in the same way, I've heard people are doing montages of carol singing. So they're getting people to sing carols with their families, and then they're kind of snipping it all together and sharing a carol on through a digital format of lots of different people, lots of different households singing. And in similar ways, Posada is being done online as well, with a photo shared each day of Mary and Joseph in a different place in the village. And that then does kind of get around issues about passing Mary and Joseph on. So one person will put them somewhere outdoors, take a photo and share it every day. And you can link that into contemporary issues. I heard someone saying they're going to put a little mask on Mary and Joseph, which I don't know how we feel about that, but kind of linking it and making it feel like we're speaking into the current context. What else? Lots of people doing Christingles with home packs. So I know a few of you mentioned home packs, and I've heard quite a few people are doing Christingles by sending packs home. And also Blue Christmas, I think, was mentioned earlier. I've heard of various different ways that people are doing Blue Christmases, which, for those of you who don't know, is about marking people that have passed away in the year. And obviously that is, well, always relevant, but potentially even more this year when so many people have experienced kind of bereavement. And the various ways of doing that. You could pre-record some content for that and do it online. You could have a Zoom meeting, Zoom webinar, sharing liturgy, sharing stories. Or another way of doing that is on social media and asking people to share something about the person they've lost this year and kind of holding some of that grief and in a Blue Christmas way. I think those are kind of all of the ideas that I've gathered over the various conversations I've had. One thing that was shared at the webinar last week that I thought was really wise and that I'd like to share just to finish off my bit is somebody talked about the two kind of spiritual principles that are at play this Christmas, and in the ways that we can do evangelism, ways that we can do mission and ministry this Christmas. And those are, we have this amazing opportunity to go big online. We can reach people all over the world. We can be global. Anything is possible with God this Christmas. And that's one spiritual principle at play. But also there's the stay small principle. Be the mustard seed, do what you can, stick a message up in your window, and you just don't know who you might reach. And I thought that was really inspiring, kind of holding those two things together in the ways that we do mission this Christmas.
That's great, Holly. Thank you so much. Thank you. Some great ideas, isn't there? Very creative. Tracy, I think David's emailed you some stuff about Christmas angels.
Well, he's emailed me now to say that he's going to be emailing it out. I haven't finished writing it. Okay. So you must have thought you knew he was doing it. So what I've asked him to do is to put it on the Christmas Angels website. But if not, if it gets emailed to me, I will get it put onto the Mission Forum website as well. So hopefully in the next week or so, we will have guidance on that. And you may have seen in the chat as well, you can get fair trade Christingle chocolate oranges in boxes now that have just come out. I think they're by the Real Chocolate Company who did the Real Easter egg, and they've got all the sweets and the cocktail sticks and the everything else on the box as well with what they're for. So that might be a thing to do for children or whatever in your area, is to buy a load of those up. I'm not sure where they're from. As soon as I find out, I'll put them on the forum website.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, any questions or comments before we draw to a close? Yeah, David?
One thing that we're looking at is how to do our soup lunches. We've done soup lunches every month for the old folks, which have had to cease as much because the people who served are old and decrepit as well. But it's a question of the safety of the thing, that whether we can do plastic boxes with soup in and another one with a bit of Christmas cake and so on. But it's just another sort of thinking out the box. How can we do what we've done? Because an awful lot of those people are on their own, and although they're getting visited fairly regularly, to sort of miss out on their soup lunch chat every month has been quite a miss.
David, it doesn't help with the chat part of it, but you might want to have a conversation with a church. Well, I mean, Great Lumley's been doing food distribution all the way through, hot food distribution all the way through lockdown. So there are churches that have worked through the guidelines of how we do that. But it doesn't help with the chat bit. Oh, what's Tracy holding up?
That's what the chocolate orange Christingles look like, and I've put in the chat the website where you can get them. They're £3 each. I think you can get them for less if you buy a box of so many. Okay, so it's the Meaningful Chocolate Company. I've put it in the chat, the website where you can get them.
See, Tracy, I just want chocolate now. Okay.
I don't think it's a chocolate orange. I don't think it's lots of chunk. I suspect it's done like an Easter egg and it'll be hollow, but that's my guess.
Any other questions? Wonderful. I can't see anybody waving at me, so well, I think we'll start to bring this to a close. It's been good to chat.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this. Sorry, just the Mission Forum website. Is that on the Methodist?
No, it's not a website, Jean. It's a Facebook group.
Facebook. And is it just, if I just search for Mission Forum?
Let me get you the exact title. Mission Forum for Newcastle Methodist District.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't miss anybody else, did I? Yeah, go on, Sarah.
Sorry, quick question to Holly. When will the posters be available?
They'll be, thanks, Sarah, they'll be available to download by next week.
Right, brilliant.
And we hope available to order through CPO by the end of next week. So that's the plan.
Fantastic.
If that changes, it will be up on the website, but hopefully it won't change.
Great, thanks very much.
Yeah. A couple of people are asking about people have asked before this, but also in the chat about sharing the ideas. Everything's open here, and we have recorded it. So as soon as I get this uploaded to YouTube, I'll put the link on the Mission Forum Facebook group as well. Okay. But if you're not on Facebook and you want that, then can I suggest you email Tracy rather than me, because I'm not going to be looking at emails after Monday. All right. Gail's giving me a thumbs up because I'm not going to look at my emails. All right, we're going to come to the end now. Let's just pause for a moment and be quiet and just cast